What an amazing, amazing gathering of soul force here in this room. And the gratefulness, the heart for these women who just decided, okay, I'm going to take this bull by the horns. Look what happened. And it's a matter of time. I was born in Fort McMurray, first one in my family to be born in a hospital. And I'm sure you know what Fort McMurray is. Yes, it's the heart of the tar sands. And when I grew up, I was born in 1950, believe it or not. And they already knew from the late 1800s what was under that land. So I grew up, I never heard a drum, never heard our songs, never saw any of our ceremonies. So many of the kids that I grew up with didn't speak the language. I was lucky because my grandmother couldn't speak English very well. And she spoke Cree to me. But she wouldn't allow me to speak Cree back. I could only speak English to her. And she kept her Dene language secret. I wasn't allowed to learn any of that. And she would slip into that secret language sometimes when she would be meeting with her sisters. And so there was a lot I wasn't allowed to know. And I think that's the situation with so many of our people. There's many ways that we're separated from those places of teaching and knowing and knowledge. This C-45, the Prime Minister with 24% of the electorate. 24%, and he's walking around with the majority. What's that about? You know? And I know we have all kinds of issues about voting. Where, so many feel on the outside of that. I know I never voted for years and years and years, and just occasionally voted, out of rage or whatever. But, that's another reason that he doesn't really have to pay too much attention, he thinks. We're not a big voting bloc so far. So we're well aware of the C-45 shutting down environmental protection on the water, on the land. There are laws in there to weaken any protection of the lands of parks, so that and even to get back the old Indian agent system, where the Minister of Indian Affairs has a say. Not they said, the Aboriginal Affairs Minister, the authority to call a band meeting or a referendum for the purposes of considering a surrender of the band's territory. That's just one of the things in there. The minister can accept or refuse the land designation after receiving a resolution from the Band Council, and providing unprecedented support to industries to exploit natural resources with minimal environmental oversight. Those are just a few items in this omnibus bill, this ominous omnibus bill. So that's what inspires this urgency. And we've had this urgency for generations and generations and generations. We're standing were standing. For so many years, it was a smoldering. People would commit their lives to keep building this fire, moving forward. That the treaties were put in place as a sacred gift to the peoples of the earth. We are standing, we are the last defense to protect for all over the planet. In Ecuador and Bolivia, in Ecuador particularly, it's already in play, laws to protect Mother Earth. And this couple actually litigated on that legislation because there was some dumping going on in a river by their property that was smothering the river. They took it to court, and because of the laws there to protect Mother Earth, they won their case. That's something we can look forward to. That's our responsibility as stewards of the land. That's what it means. That's what those treaties mean. And my grandmother married a Métis. That was her sin. So I don't have a treaty card. But maybe I'll be able to rectify that. There is a pathway to do that. But no matter what, we're all treaty people. No matter what culture you come from Italy, you come from Germany, you come from Barbados, you come from anywhere in the world, you will find a history where your indigenous people were ripped away from their traditions, ripped away from their ceremonies, ripped away from the place where women are the leaders of the community. In our history, the first recorded case of resistance on the part of women in North America, recorded in this book called The Strange Empire, was in the 1500s. It was the Iroquois Confederacy women. Because my father's people were not in the Papa, were straight mama, but he comes from the Ukrainian people out here, so my great-great-grandmother is Ukrainian. And so when the European men come over here, there's no way they're going to negotiate with a woman. Their women were in chains. They burned their heaters at the stake sase. And that's what they were doing. And so the women of the Iroquois Confederacy had to put the men forward because nobody was going to speak to them, right? And then the men started getting off of balance, started figuring, oh yeah, I'm all that. And they started making decisions that they had no authority to make. Started wars, started going on the line. And the women said, no more lovemaking, no more childbearing, until you remember. Well, nice try, right? My grandmother was given away at the age of 12. So we weren't able to stem so much of the damage and the poison of imbalance. And then I heard a story. The feminist movement was talking about their process of getting the right to vote, and about their placards and their flyers and the colors they were using, and the incredible movement that happened at that time, yellow, green, and purple colors. And then there was this woman around Syracuse who kind of started to get curious. How did these women all of a sudden have all this powerful view of who women are when they we're in a Victorian society where women were in chains and women were not free. Where did they get this huge view of women as human beings and places of leadership and authority? Her research took her to the Iroquois Confederacy. That feminist movement was inspired by the Iroquois Confederacy. Those colors are wampum colors: yellow, green, and purple. And when did we get our chance to vote? We were kind of left behind in that. They got theirs in the 20s or something like that, and ours in the early 60s. So there's been an inequality, and it's just amazing to see the beauty of creators' love that here, Eve Ensler, who has done work all over the planet to stop violence against women, commemorated a whole year in the U.S. dedicated to Indigenous women because she had never seen the violence. The number of women in one culture had so much experience with violence against women, more than all the other cultures combined, and that's some wicked, wicked, wicked violence. But that's in our background, and that's what we carry, that's what we hold. And this time that, we have to bring back the honor and respect of natural law. And this C-45 and the way this man-made government has been moving, they're in fact, they're criminals in the court of natural law. I think it's really important, those who have put their lives on the line for us to be able to stand here and have this much fire. When this fire sparked, and I don't know more, just ripped around the planet. It was like we had been a ground fire for hundreds of years. Ground fire, people putting in their life work. I know we have lots of ancestors that are with us right now. They're part of putting their heart into making a better world. And here we are. And they're holding us, and they're keeping the fire going, and we keep that fire going. And it's a thin, thin, thin wall. Those who have left us in good health, and we know, okay, I can see you, you never quit, you're not going to quit on the other side either. You just went there to shed the physical, to be able to work more loose. And then we have people like my mother, who died in violence, grade 4 education, she had a crippled leg, she had no voice. And this is one of the things that inspired me to go and look for a voice. Because there's so many people in our community that didn't have a voice because of the oppression that we have lived through, generation after generation after generation. And I want to say this to all the cultures that have been torn away from the earth, torn away from their relationship with creative force, that we're all in this together. Our Mother Earth needs all the water that's at her core. That makes us all allies. We're all fighters of the land. And I think that one thing that we have learned through history, violence is not the answer. It's not the answer. Since where in prayer and ceremony was violence, wisdom, and advice. And Papa's Chest, there's a story of Papa's Chest in Edmonton when they're building the railroad through. And the white people were king bees. There was negotiations going on, back and forth, trying to get something done legally in council, but there's no way that they were going to move the railroad to the other side of the river and respect Papa's Chest as summer camp. They just weren't going to do it. And so the white guys are the ones that came in the night and set fire to Papa's Chest people's teepees. And then the Braves got upset, they wanted to go to war. So Papa's Chest went into a shaking tent and came out and said, you can go to war, but these people are blinded and deafened by greed. And they have way more men, they have way more artillery than you can even fathom. So you can stand and fight, it's not going to do you any good. But there'll be a generation of their children who will be our friends. So we are standing there. We are standing here in the patience of our ancestors. And the idea that the women who are the core, the seed of this I Don't Know More movement get their direction through ceremony, through prayer, and only what's safe for children and elders is condoned. This is our weapon. Peace is our weapon. No matter, because there's lots of poison that has to come out of that brown wire. Lots of racism and horrible fear and women as leaders being absolutely disdained. We have so much to break through, and we have a devout responsibility to keep that in light and keep that in prayer, because that is our power, that is our weapon, and there'll be all kinds of tactics to try to get people really angry, to try to break out in some violence, so that will be the excuse to bring in the artillery and to start filling those prisons they already started building when they recognize that it is the indigenous element that is going to protect. That when the environmental movement brought in the indigenous aspect of it, then it was recognized that that's the power, and we hold the power. Sisters and brothers, grandmothers and grandfathers, aunts and uncles, in this reality and in the next. How? I don't know more.